Hey, it's Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. What are the top 5 moments in Jake Fromm's career at Georgia? We've got all 5 for you coming right now. Let's start with the first game that Jake started at Notre Dame. A lot of hesitancy about this game for the program at the time, but there was internal support. You could feel it in the week leading up to the game, but no one really knew what it was going to be like for Jake to start until he got out there. And needless to say, starting on the road at Notre Dame, that's a challenge for anyone. This Georgia team was poised to make a big run. All of a sudden, Jacob Eason goes out. Here comes Jake Fromm, and he played pretty well. It wasn't unbelievable, but the one throw that Terry Godwin pulled in was an amazing one. I mean, an amazing catch. It was right in front of me. You can see the picture right here. And really, that game was about Jake getting comfortable and winning. People are forgetting how big a deal that win was for Georgia, specifically at the time. I mean, this was a Georgia team that needed a key victory in the 2017 season, and this was the game that everyone was pointing to for the Dogs to show if they were the real deal or not. Jake Fromm came in, played well, Georgia got the win. It's our number 5 moment for Jake Fromm in his career at Georgia. Number 4, 2019 Notre Dame. Same team, but different circumstance. The Irish came in coming off of an undefeated regular season in 2018. The Dogs come in, number 3 team in the country. Both programs with really huge expectations. This was the do-or-die game, a night game on CBS, and Jake Fromm came to play. It really was one of his best games that he played in his career at Georgia. And it really was a huge moment for the Dogs. Lawrence Cager catching a ball that Fromm threw in the corner of the end zone right in front of the the student section of the stands and the Redcoats. It was a magical night in Athens, and Jake Fromm really played well. We are considering this a number 4 game of his time in Athens. Number 3, the Southeastern Conference Championship game in 2017 against Auburn. Now again, if you remember correctly, Jake's time at Georgia, he really wasn't asked to do a lot at the beginning, but by the end of the 2017 season, Georgia, Kirby Smart and company, Jim Chaney, were really asking him to do a lot more. Against Auburn, he had to make some throws in that game that were really critical plays for the Dogs. And in that moment, you got to think back. It had been 12 years since Georgia won the SEC. So here comes Jake Fromm out of nowhere. And he's got Georgia in position to win the SEC championship game. Georgia, needless to say, had to really play well in that game, and Jake had to play pretty well in the game, which he did.
You always dream for big things, and just thankful that God put me in this situation. He'll never make anything too big for me, and just thankful that it was the plan for the University of Georgia to win the SEC championship.
But it was a huge moment, because when you think back about all the talented quarterbacks that have played at Georgia since 2005, when Georgia had last won the conference championship, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Murray, just to name 2. He was the guy that got Georgia to win the SEC championship. Was it all his doing? No. But he was the guy under center, and he was the guy guiding them. That's our number 3 moment for Jake Fromm's career at Georgia. Number 2, this was a huge moment for Jake Fromm. There have been a lot of questions about his time at Georgia. Did they stick with the right guy? 2019 game in Jacksonville against the Gators. It might be. It was really tough to come up with number 1 and number 2, which one was bigger. But 2019 against the Gators was huge, and he just flat out played his ass off. When you think about the throw that clinched the game to Eli Wolf, that was a 3rd down and long. The Gators brought everybody. He took a hit. It won them the game.
That 3rd down was one of the best throws I've seen him make in person, but they put the ball in Jake's hands, and he made the plays.
And, the season before, that was a blowout. It became a blowout. But this game for Jake, this was a tight game against the Gators in the 4th quarter late. And that throw was do or die. They had to have it. He completed it. Georgia went on to win the SEC East. That was a huge moment. And then the post-game celebration with Jake, Kirby Smart, and everybody's going crazy. I mean, it was nuts. That was a huge moment. Maybe the biggest moment individually for Jake in his time at Georgia, but it's number 2 on our list. The number one moment for Jake Fromm at Georgia, it was tough with the Gator game in 2019, but to me, driving Georgia down the field, had to get a touchdown. Jake Fromm went from being a guy that handed the ball off to the reason that they tied the game for sure against Oklahoma in the 2018 Rose Bowl game. It was a huge moment for Georgia, generally speaking. That huge, massive crowd of Georgia fans and OU fans journeyed to Pasadena and saw a game the likes of which that stadium has only seen once before, which was the 2005 culmination between Texas and USC for the national championship. This game was just as good, if not better, as a game. It was just a semifinal game. In fact, the most viewed game the second most viewed game for 2016, 17, 18, and 19 college football seasons, and maybe beyond. We still don't know. But Jake taking the team down the field, handing off a little bit, but mainly these were throws. They put it on Jake Fromm's shoulders, and he took home the Rose Bowl trophy. Georgia taking them to the national championship game against Alabama a week later in Atlanta. Those are the top 5 moments in Jake Fromm's career at Georgia. Make sure to click to subscribe above.